What's good, everybody? This is your friend and brother Robert W. JoJo Hill, the servant, the artist, and the author. And of course, I'm in the building on the night. Yes. All right, man. Listen, I want you guys to click like and share. Make sure you guys reach out and touch somebody and tell them that JoJo Hill is on the air. And when is he on the air, everybody? On the night. All right, man. Today, I'm going to be talking about family secrets. Now, I want you guys to comment, like, share, do all the things that we do so we can kind of have a conversation tonight. It's been entirely too many family freaking secrets. It's gone on for years, decades. Some cases it's been freaking 100 years. Secrets. People don't know what the ham and crap has been going on. You don't know where the crap you came from. Half time these people have been finding out folks been getting the crap banged out of them and they don't know nothing. People got daddies and stuff. They don't know who the crap they are. They got cousins and sisters and brothers. They don't know who in the ham and crap they are. This crap has got to stop. Do you understand what I'm telling you? Absolutely has to stop. Now, in order for these things to get adjusted, here's what's going to happen. We have to have a dialogue. There has to be a standard. First order of business. People have to understand that there is a direct consequence to doing this crap. Direct, not in error, 100%. If you are so absent of thought that you would create a scenario where this child is born, for example, and you hide the father from that child, or you keep the information of the father away from that child, that's a dreadful mistake because you're ruining the mindset of that child. If you are a woman who claims that a child belonged to a man, but it is discovered that that child did not belong to that man, and you willingly did it, you got to go to jail. It is my perspective that Joe Behind needs to go to freaking prison because it's been cases where there have been men who've taken care of children for 18 to 20 years, only to discover at the end that was not true at all. Now, what the children have to understand is no, mama was a hoe and she did some stuff that was very interesting and she didn't know who in the ham and crap shot the club up. If this is in fact the case, this has to be freaking dealt with. Why are we ignoring this stuff? Why are we acting like this stuff doesn't matter? Because the persons who ultimately get drastically damaged behind this stuff is not the people who freaking did it, not the people who banged crap. That ain't generally ones that got the issue. The ones that got the problem and it affects them adversely is usually the child. So these folks are willing to bypass and ruin the life of a child, ruin the life of this person for 40, 50, 60, 70 years, never acknowledging or never telling them, hey, I did some crap when I was young that I probably should not have done. And you came here as a result of that. We should deal with that. This family secret crap is insanity. It's been so many people that have siblings in their families and they're like, wait a minute, something is wrong. You don't quite look like the rest of us, but they act like nothing happened. They, oh no, he looks like my uncle. He looks like my uncle. I saw this show. I don't know, maybe a month or so ago. It was a movie I saw, and this woman was born, and she looked like she was an Italian or something. This black family, and they said, "Oh no, you look like my great uncle. He looked like that." And they had some picture of some dude from maybe 5 or 6 generations ago, and the girl had the same complexion. And they're trying to make this woman think it. So what she did in her own research, she started to dig, and she found out that her father was the freaking basketball coach from some community center that her mother used to work at. She had been getting the crap banged out about this community center basketball coach guy. And the dude ultimately died. And then she found out, oh, shoot, that was my father. I seen him the whole time. The mother, shut the crap up, fake and crying mother lady. You knew the entire time. Now, from what I understand, I don't know. I've never been no freaking woman before. But from what I understand, a woman can tell, and she pretty much knows when that experience happens, or when she becomes pregnant by somebody, she can sense it, or I don't know the crap. That's what I've heard. I don't know if that's a fact or not, but that's what I've heard. Now, This is when this thing gets completely off the rail and it goes off the chains. When you have a woman who lays with multiple men over in like multiple men, and then she gets pregnant, and then she just decides, I'm just going to choose whichever one I think is the best one. I know someone personally that happened to directly. I know several people that happened to directly. And this poor boy was breaking his neck, taking care of this little snotty-nosed little brat, only to discover after deeper inspection, no, this is not your freaking kid. And he spazzed out. Fortunately, the child wasn't a year or two old. And so he was able to get from under it, but it was still an extreme process. And when he found out and he confronted the girl, do you know what the freaking girl, little freak girl said? Oh, well, I mean, your name on the birth certificate now, so you got to take care of it. Her and her mom knew that the child was not this kid's. She knew it and was in an attempt to ruin and the design was not to help this boy, it was to jack him up. So if you're in a case with someone like that, if you know that there's people who do things like this, we got to pull these mugs to the carpet. These mugs need to freaking go to jail. If a woman tricks a nigga into thinking that a child is his and they find out that it's not, that woman should have to go to freaking jail. I don't give a crap what this culture says, because all this crap is tilted. The dude has no recourse. If the girl decides to abort the child, the dude has no recourse at all. He can't say anything. Oh, this is her body. If she decides she don't want to be a mother no more and get that little kid away, there's no recourse. So what we're dealing with a culture that teaches and trains the women to think that they can just do anything, but there's no recourse. Consequently, you have these dramatic family secrets. This is insanity. And this ain't putting the guys off the hook by no stretch of the imagination, but I have to deal with this thing in pieces because the primary supporter of this crap and then usually the enforcer of it is usually our women. This is whack. So if a woman knows that a child is not a kid, but she puts the responsibility on that man, that woman should go to freaking prison. She should have to pay back every dime that boy had to pay to that woman, and she should have to take her behind the prison. No question, no stop at go. She's got a freaking dip. So this family secret crap is damaging to the kid. I know folks who've lived their lives standing right across from their fathers and didn't even know it. So they just kept the secret. They just kept the freaking secret. How do you deal with that? How do you handle that? How do you begin to move our culture into a place where that's not a consistent dynamic? We have to hold the people accountable. They have to be. There has to be accountability to this crap. I knew a guy, he was a very famous guy, who his father, so-called preacher guy, and this preacher dude, they knew that he had got this girl pregnant, that they shipped this girl off. So she goes off to another city, has this hidden child because they don't want to tell on this so-called man of God guy. She has this child, and the child grows up and becomes relatively popular guy. And he's going out, he's doing his thing musically. And the pastor guy father would bring him in there, have him do shows and concerts and have him come up there and do stuff in his church, sitting right across from the kid and never telling him. So this kid going the whole time don't have any idea who his father is. I have no idea who my father is. They wait till this dude dies. The freaking father dies. Then they want to tell him, well, you know that was your father. Dude, I was sitting there with this dude all this time and you guys never told me. So as a consequence, this man experienced a dramatic and a terrible disposition of his life because it was so much of his life that was missing. You cannot keep these secrets from these children because it's negatively affecting the child. But the culture says you don't need the dude, you don't need the man, so we can interchangeably swap this crap out. But you can't do that because it has an extremely negative effect. People are getting messed up behind this crap. It's horrible. I've talked to several people this week, and it was story after story after story, probably 4 or 5 separate people, unrelated, who all had these horror stories. And I'm going, this is insane. But how are we keeping that? How are we doing that? How is that a thing? It's because primarily our culture thinks it's normal to keep these weird secrets. So never mind what it does to the child. The child's life doesn't mean anything. Bump the child. That's irrational. The concept of it is nuts and it's irrational. You can only build a community you can only build a people when the people know who the crap they are. You can't keep the secret from who the heck they are. So what? Okay, suppose the mother was a complete hoe and a freak, and she went out there and just got leaned over forward and got the crap banged out of her by 15 different guys. She should have the freaking wherewithal to say, hey, listen, I was a complete freak. Yeah, I ain't had no business doing that. That was a terrible mistake. I shouldn't have got bent over forward and got the club shot up by all these people like they was at a doggone release party. I should not have done that. But I'm gonna properly determine which one of these dudes was the father instead of just picking the one that I think I want it to be. That's insanity. I'm telling you, I've seen case after case where folks have done this stuff, and the results have been, it's been catastrophic. The things that's happened has been catastrophic because the people don't think that it's going to matter, but it's going to matter to that child. You'll have someone that stands, you have a family that stands up, and you look at all the people in the family, you're going, wait a minute, why does that dude look so different than the rest of the dudes in here? Why does that girl look so different? Why is she such a so-called black sheep? She's a black sheep because her daddy was a black sheep. You in a house full of goats and you got a black sheep and black sheep in there because mama was doing some crap she ain't had no freaking business doing. And I say this from the perspective of the woman because quite often the woman is usually the bearer of this kept weird secret. Now, some dudes that done did some crap and act like that crap didn't happen too, of course. But the weight of this piece is going to fall on the woman because she's generally the carrier of the child. This is absolutely insane. So what do we begin to do? How do we begin to shift this thing? How do we begin to switch it out? Oh, I see D. What's up, D Simp? She says you're still some kind of funny. That's hilarious. This is 100% true. We know people like this that will engage getting the crap banged out of them and act like the stuff is not there. Act like it didn't happen. Oh, we don't know. We don't know what happened. It was just the spirit of the Holy Ghost impregnated me and made me have a child that looks like a goat when I got a house full of deer. No, your behind was a freak and you didn't say nothing. So you kept this secret from this little black sheep looking child, and they're trying to figure out who the ham and cheese they are because you won't tell them. You won't give them the truth. You won't tell them honestly. That's a mistake. It is my perspective. I'm telling you, it is my absolute perspective that if a woman keeps that kind of information from a child, or if a couple keeps that kind of information from a child, they should have to deal with that. There should be a consequence to that because you're destroying something in that child. I can't tell you how many people that I have to counsel on a daily basis that had no idea who the crap their father was for 30 or 40 years. Nobody thinks that this family secret crap has any bearings. It does have bearings. If you leave that crap in place, it's going to adversely and negatively affect that child. So what do you get? So we have our women. I counsel a lot of women. I counsel a lot of couples, counsel a lot of folks all over the country, people that participate in my trainings and whatnot. And I'm telling you, I hear it almost every day. You have all of these broken people because you have these, for example, you have boys or males who don't understand the characteristic of a man because their image of a man, first and foremost, probably was not there, and it definitely did not reflect them. That's a freaking problem. So if you have some situations like this, like Dee says, she has a situation in her family right now, of course, we see this crap all the time. So what's going to happen? How is it negatively affecting the community? Now you're going to have a boy who grows up, never becomes a man because he never got the information of a man, because the person that should have been a man in front of him did not exist. But then you say, but why? Okay. Quite often, and this is not all cases, obviously, but quite often, you have a child whose birth and is never properly identified, or his classification was never put in place. This is freaking insane. So you don't know, okay, you're supposed to be a Smith, but somebody told you that you was a Jenkins. So you looking at all the Jenkins, you're going, wait a minute. Okay, I can tell that's a Jenkins, that's a Jenkins, that's a Jenkins. But when it get to me, I don't freaking look like no freaking Jenkins. No, something wrong. And you go, hey mama, hey dad, am I really a Jenkins? Look, little nigga, go over there and eat those pork chops and we'll talk to you later. No, but am I really a Jenkins? What's wrong with me? How come my hair don't look like this? That's because you look like your great third removed grandfather's cousin. That's how come you don't look like that. And this little mug is walking around, have no idea, has no concept in his mind. He knows that the information is off. He's going, no, there's something wrong. There's something wrong. There's something wrong. I don't fit. Now, with just a simple conversation, you could resolve all of those issues in that child's mind. But selfish grown people traditionally will not do it. This is insanity. You have people that just simply won't do it. That's an evil person. You have some kind of evil, as they say. You are some type of crazy if you won't do that, because you're not even taking into consideration the damage that that's causing with that child. I've seen it over and over. So I watched it in multitude of ways. I watched the men, or these boys who grow up to be grown males, who never developed the behavior patterns of men because they didn't get man behavior, because there was no man that shared their reflection to teach them how to be a man. So what do you get? Now what is it? Now you have a woman or a female who's attempting to become a woman, but she's never developed that pure and uncut love that only a father can give her, because they kept that information from that person. Or they place someone in front of them and make them think this giraffe is the father of this orangutan. Y'all mugs is freaking crazy. So the person is never going to develop their true identity. Their identity is off. They can't properly become the next version of who they're supposed to be, because they've never seen it. They don't know who it is. And so the folks that keep this information from those babies should have a direct consequence, particularly if it's a woman who has a child and she keeps that child from knowing who its father is, or place the responsibility on another man whose child it really is not. That's insanity. Well, I heard some people say, well, it takes a real man to raise another man's kid. Okay, I hear that, but that's still an irrational set of thought, because that child is never going to properly see its reflection, and you can't keep it a secret from that child. If you have a child who thinks that this freaking giraffe is the father of this orangutan, it's going to drive the orangutan mad, because they can't see their image. They can't see who they are. So that's a serious problem. And we don't like to deal with it. We don't like to acknowledge it, but this is insane. We can't possibly think that this is a normal set of behavior. We can't do that. So what do we do? How do we begin to shift it? First and foremost, we have to put a consequence on this adverse behavior. If there's no consequence associated with it, people aren't going to get it. They're not going to get it. They're just not going to understand it. If there's never a consequence, if these women, for example, are not held accountable to tricking a nigga into thinking that a child is his, it'll continue. And it's not just, obviously, it's just not people, black people. It happens all across the board, but I'm not necessarily concerned about them, because I ain't freaking no other color but black. So if that is in fact the case, how do we begin to fix it? We have to put a consequence on it. People don't respond with things that don't have consequences associated with it. You see little kids walk up to the parents and slap them in the face when they're little kids, and they say, "Oh, it's so cute." That child never associated a consequence. But if that child is ever held accountable to that little slap that he did, they'll suddenly begin to adjust it, or they'll start to adjust that behavior. The behaviors in our community are not traditionally adjusted because there aren't consequences. You can't have someone grow up for 30, 40 years and never tell them who they are for real and it not be a consequence. Oh, you just float off into the sunset and go become an old person and act like nothing didn't happen? No, your behind should have a consequence too, because you tricked that person and you affected that person's entire life. This is why I can't stand them freaking secrets. There's things that you would do and things that you wouldn't do if you had an understanding of what you were connected to. You understand? Like, it's some people that may have a propensity to drink. They may have a compulsive drinking behavior, but they don't know why. Man, why do I just like to drink? Other people in my family don't drink like that. Why do I feel like that? And then you find out that the person that you really came from was an absolute drunk, but we want to keep you away from this little drunk. And no, you can't. They have to at least know the information so they'll know, oh, I'm prone to drinking. So if I start feeling the inclination to drink, at least I have a point of reference to say, oh, it was other people the person I came from was a drinker. So I have to monitor that behavior. I just can't step off into drinking like that. I can't do it. I'm telling you, it's guys that I know, it's people that I know directly that's lived their entire lives, went to the funerals and cried and everything of a father, only to find out later that the dude wasn't their father. You understand that? So you, mother, you knew the entire time that this dude was my father. And some of them have tricked the dude. They tricked the fathers, the adoptive fathers into thinking, oh, this is your kid. Oh, why you look like that? Oh, you look like my cousin Jeff. No, he don't. There's characteristics and things that you'll note. There's traits. When my sons were born, they were an hour or two old. And I remember my father-in-law saying, he said, woo, Joe, look at them boys that boy got that heel chest. He talking about he's got a heel chest. And then he talked about my other son was born. Look at his shoulders. He has those heel shoulders. It's certain things that come directly. So imagine if my sons grew up with this heel chest, these heel shoulders, but the person that they was looking at every day and was told that it was their father was a little short dude with a hunchback with gold hair. They'd be like, hey man, wait, hold on. How come my hair ain't gold? How come I don't look like a hunchback? And then one day they walk up to me and they see themselves directly. My son was looking at found a piece of ID that I have from high school. And when he looked at it, he was like, oh crap. He's like, I can put this in my wallet, Dad, and hold this as my identification. I can use this as my ID. I can tell people that this was me. It was so similar. So in other words, my son could see his reflection. It's something very powerful that happens when a child can see their reflection. But our culture makes our children think that your reflection doesn't mean anything, or that the connection to your reflection, oh, I heard that, your connection to your reflection doesn't mean anything, but it does. Your connection of your reflection means everything. It'll help you dictate a whole lot of things of how you move forward. What becomes your pattern of action? What things will you do that will suddenly make sense to you that didn't make sense to you before? So there has to be a freaking consequence. If these people do this stuff, they have to have a consequence. Something needs to happen negatively to affect these people that will trick these children. Because the thing for me is that it's all about these kids. We're looking at a whole nother culture, a whole nother generation that are completely lost. And when I say lost, I mean they're completely freaking lost. I was telling my friend April today, I said, yo, Ape, this culture is freaking lost. We're lost because there's no association with consequence. There's no association with the next push that you're supposed to do, or um what's your pattern? What do you have that connects you to greatness? Or what do you have that connects you to a loser? If it's a loser, you know, okay, crap. If this is where I came from, let me look at the patterns. So all I have to do statistically is don't do the things that they did. Are y'all listening to the old troublemaker? You have to understand where we come from is very important. We can't bypass that. So you can't rob someone of their identification. You can't do that. You can't rob them of who they are, because you're going to negatively affect them in the future. So now I have to deal and counsel with women who are trying to or females who are trying to align themselves with mates, but they can't because they don't know who the crap they are, and the dudes don't know who in the ham and cheese they are. Are you following? They don't have any idea who they are. So what happens? They're trying to engage relationships, but the relationships can't work. They won't work. How? Why won't they work? Because the people don't know who the crap they are. Y'all remember on the Lion King when that little Rafiki monkey told Simba, he said, "You don't even know who you are." He said, "Man, you knew my father?" He said, "Correction. I know your father." Remember that? He said, "No, I know your father. So when I look at you, I can see a reflection of your father." So when that boy, he said, "Let me show you. Let me show you where Mufasa is. Let me show you." And he took him over to that water, and he let him stand and look at the reflection in the water. And as he looked at himself, he saw Mufasa, and he said, "Oh, that's just me. That's just a reflection." He said, "No, man, you are your father. So the stuff that came with your father, you got it too." We have to understand. See, the primary issue with this family secret crap, you know who it generally negatively affects most of the time. It most of the time negatively affects the father of these children, and then of course the children. The children are the absolute opiate of the what gets crashed and burned, because they suffer crap that they had nothing to do with. Are you listening to me? So if you have a group of people who don't make a connection with this consequence, it's always going to be something strange. Let me see here. D Brown says something here. Got some stuff with my cousin years ago. She was married, had a daughter, thinking the man in the house was her father. When she got older, I could clearly see she was my blood. Wow. I confronted my god sister after telling my cousin that it was his child. She Wow. She told me she would take it to her grave. In other words, they're gonna keep the freaking secret. Can you believe that? Now we'll get to that. Read to that in just a second. Now here it is again. They would rather keep the secret and take it to their freaking graves. This is insanity. So no one thinks that it's going to have a major consequence on it. Let me see what else it says here. She says she would take this thing to her grave. If I ever said anything, she wouldn't talk to me again in life. Well, that's deep. The indiscretion of an adult. First and foremost, let me make this disclaimer. Any adult that decides they want to bang somebody, do whatever the crap they want, that's an adult. People are going to do whatever they choose to do. We need to establish that. Just understand that, establish that. People are going to do whatever they choose to do. Now, with that being said, if your choice and your decision to bang the crap out of somebody produces another human being, who gives a crap what you think about your taking the secrets and all this stuff? No. Somebody needs to be clear and talk very specifically with the person that's the product. Are y'all listening to the old water sprayer? You have to be clear with the person that you that became the product of whatever this piece was. You can't do that. You can't just jump out there and think you can bypass all the things that your indiscretions will produce in this other human being. The human being that came as the product has nothing to do with that. You have to give that person the information that they need for their lives. You deal with your life however the crap you got to deal with it. But you have to tell these monks, I can't stand it. I'm telling you, I can't stand them freaking family secrets. I hate them junks. You got uncles that be banging the crap out of cousins and stuff. That's insanity. That's destructive. It's destroying these freaking people. I was talking to someone today and they told me about their sister called, hey man, did you ever hear about anything about such and such not really being my dad? And it's like, what? This mug is 40 years old. So all this time, and then they asked the mother, hey, what's the deal? Is this mug my father? I don't, what? What you crap you stuttering for? You know, if you was a freak in 1962, you knew you was a freak. If you was a freak in 1965, you knew. Stop acting like you wasn't. Stop taking this crap to your grave, because what you take into your grave is destroying the life of multiple people. There are women right now, and I got to say this, there are women right now who I counsel that cannot find proper mates because the dudes are freaking clueless as to who they are. They don't know who the crap they are. So why would we go through this distorted interpretation of not telling these people who in the crap they are? Just tell them your freaking life is over. You 68 years old. You ain't what the crap. You ain't having no more freaking kids. Tell these people the truth. You should have told them when you was 28. You knew it when you was 28. You knew when you was 20. You knew what happened. But you refused to because you were too freaking afraid. You were too much of a freaking coward. Tell these babies the truth. If they got a daddy named Jeffrey, they need to know that Jeffrey their father. Stop telling them Michael is their father. These family secrets don't work. This crap doesn't work. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. Well, I don't want him to be a part of his life. Ma'am, your child is 2 months old and you've been away from the person that got you pregnant for 7 months. So the child is 2 months old. You've been away from the person who got you pregnant and bent your behind over a table and banged your behind. You've been separated from them for 7 months and you have a 2-month-old child. You got a freaking problem. So that means you didn't have enough sense, you didn't have enough wisdom and wherewithal to know who in the crap that you submitted your body to. How about this? I don't know. I'm just going to take a shot in the dark here before I end the show. Maybe properly align yourself with the concept of wisdom. Be selective about who you decide to roll with. How about be married and be in a covenant before you get freaking banged and pregnant by these people to produce freaking children? Maybe you shouldn't be pregnant outside of the context of a covenant. Just maybe. Maybe that's a start. Maybe we should just start there. Now, there's some people that's married, being in marriage, they'll have 1 child, 2 child, 3 child, and then you'll have a child 1 that's a goat, child 2 that's a goat, child 3 that's a goat, child number 4 is an orangutan, and child number 5 is a doggone tiger. But they want the orangutan father dude to think that he's the father of the goat and the freaking tiger. This is insane. People don't get passes for this crap. That's nuts. That's absolutely insane. We have to monitor this crap. We got to look at it very specifically. The other part of it is, now you have fathers, of course, who just get ghosts, who I think that's whack. I can say this definitively. No man will do that. Let me say what I said again. A man would not do that. A male could do that. In other words, a grown boy could do that, not a man. Someone who was raised by a man could never accept that type of behavior. Someone that was raised by a man, that shared their reflection, that taught them how to be a man, could never do that, because What we do is replicate the things that we were shown, or the things that we learned at a internal perspective, from an internal perspective. So in my formulative years, I watched Joe Hill teach me how to act like a man. There's a massive misdirection and process that's been going on for the last several years. And Steve Harvey kind of led this brigade, talking about think like a man, act like a woman. And I've talked about this on several different shows and different trainings and whatnot before. Steve, I love you. You know that. Steve Harvey is one of my favorite guys, but he's in terrible error with that concept. You cannot think like a man and act like a woman. If you think like a man, you're going to act like a woman. So if Joe Hill, my father, taught me to think like a man, my ultimate behavior, if I took the instruction correctly, I'll act like a man. I won't act like a woman if I think like a man. Are you listening to the old mudslinger? Can't happen. This is something that cannot happen. It doesn't work like that. So our women are trying to marry or couple and pair mate with boys who should have the thinking of men, but because of a lot of these freaking secrets, they never learned the behavior of a man from the man that shared their reflection. We can't move like this. It's never going to work. I don't care how people try to box this crap and sell it. It doesn't freaking work. The information is flawed. Are you hearing me? We have to begin to add consequence to this crap. So if you have a man who gets ghosts on his sons, on his daughters, he has to understand there's a direct consequence to this crap. You can't think that that's not going to have a problem. You can't hold that secret. I was looking at a show yesterday, and this lady was had hooked up with this doctor. They were both doctors, and they were both doctors, and she got pregnant by this guy. He was a senior doctor, like a major surgeon. And she came to him. She says, "Yo, I'm pregnant." He stood there for a second. He walked over to her. He hugged her, touched her face. And then when he stepped back, he said, "I'll provide financially for the baby, for the child," is what he said. And she looked at him and she said, "Dude, keep your money." I think that was a mistake, but I understand why she did that. The dude was basically saying, "I'll pay for it, but I don't want to be anywhere near it." So as a result, what was going to happen to that little boy that became the product of that relationship, ladies and gentlemen? We have to understand why these things go away. I talk about it all the time. I talk about it in the trainings. You have to understand there's certain things that are products of things. So if you have negative behavior, that's going to produce a product. If you have absentee fathers, that's going to create a product. If you have a mother who hides the identity of the child from the child, that's going to create a product. It always happens. It's absolutely insane. If we don't get rid of this, we're going to have some serious issues. Kenya says that's sick. How did we get this low? No marriage on the table after you make a human. How about can you hear that? How about the idea is that we should have marriage on the table prior to making a kid? See, this is the perspective of thought Joe Hill taught me. Joe Hill taught me. He said, "Hey man, listen. I remember my daddy telling me. He said, son, if you lay down with a girl, you got to be prepared that did you marry that girl." Now, in my youthful foolishness, I didn't always think like that. I was like, "Okay, yeah, daddy, I hear you." And I was off to the races, off to see the freaking wizard. But I also remember my dad telling me, he said, "Son, now listen." He said, if you're gonna go with this is what he said. If you're gonna go with a woman, you need to think, son, that you treat that and you handle that like as if that girl's gonna be your wife. And I took that information. I was like, "Man, daddy, that's pretty dope." And so I never called a girl my girlfriend until I met my wife. When I decided, I said, okay, this is the chick I'm going to marry. I said, all right, daddy said this. Now watch this. My identification, oh man, my method of thinking in regards to how I dealt with relationships, I was extracting it from daddy. Now imagine if daddy wasn't there and I thought that freaking Brother Wilson was my father. So Brother Wilson may not even had that stuff. So the things he may not have had that type of thinking. So the multiple thoughts and the instinctive behaviors that I may have had that came from my genetic father, my biological father, if I had no reflection, I wouldn't know how to handle that information. Man, I'm telling y'all some stuff right now, and I really hope y'all grabbing it. I hope y'all really grabbing what I'm saying. Make sure you guys go over to rwjojohill.com and grab some of these incredible trainings. I want you guys to grab a couple of them. There's a recognizing the diamond training that I have. That's of course the training piece from my book. The book comes out in March. We already done with the book, and it's been a very long road coming, and you guys will be hearing more about that in the next little while. But we definitely have some training and whatnot that I think you guys could definitely participate in and benefit from. That's on the website. Let me see if we can put that up there, so at least you guys can take a peek at that. rwjojohill.com, of course, is the website, and you guys can pop over there and grab some great stuff over there that I'm sure you will enjoy. Now, as I wrap up the show tonight, I want us to begin to think about a couple different pieces as we wrap out. We can't, first of all, ever think that we can have a culture that will embrace everything that's fake as normal and think that it's not going to affect the culture. It's going to affect the culture. If you have all of these fake plastic things in play, you must understand the consequence and the result of what you're going to get has to be fake, plastic, and not real. If you have all of these secrets in place that are producing fake relationships, that are producing fake identity, that's producing fake understanding of who these people are, you're going to have a consequence. You're going to have a community. You're going to have a culture that doesn't understand how to be real, because the information that they're gathering is not real information. It's fake. Are you listening to the old fire starter? We have to understand there's a massive difference between the truth and secrets. We don't seem to understand that. We think that we can just intermingle lie, secret, hiding stuff, deception, misdirection, not answering questions directly. Hey, is this my real father? Well, that person is, he's been your father the whole wait, no, I didn't ask you that. Is this my sister? Well, that's as much your sister as anybody else. So, hey, listen, you know what I'm freaking asking you. I'm a little freaking baby. I'm asking you, look, is that person my sister? I'm looking at this picture right here. I see an orangutan, and now I see a freaking zebra. How is this freaking zebra my real brother or sister? Well, that's just as much your brother. Okay, you're not telling me the truth. So you are misdirecting me. So what kind of consequence did that create for that child? Whoever the freaking orangutan person was. What did that create? What did that do? What did that behavior produce? I know people that's gone their whole lives for 30, 40 years, and they're completely confused about who they are because somebody decided to lie to them. No, little lying mama and daddy people, y'all mucks was probably lying. You didn't tell these babies the truth. Truth is designed to do something very specific. Truth is designed to make a nigga free. If you're not free in thought, if you're not free in idea, if you're not free in identification, truth makes you free. So if you are confused, truth brings you an extreme level of liberation and freedom. This is what it does. Truth does this. So if you bypass truth, you're placing someone in a constant state of bondage. I can get no company on this doggone line today. Truth is designed to do very specific things. It's designed to get you out. If you're confused about who you are, imagine, okay, listen to guys, I want you to imagine this. I want you to imagine if your whole life you thought you were a weirdo, but then you find out you come from a very specific line of people who all have a very distinct skill set, for example. You'd be like, oh, shoot, I'm not weird at all. You guys remember on the movie Superman, when he was first learning all his powers on one of the later versions of Superman? He was learning that he had all these powers, and he would be sitting in his class and he could hear a bug crawling on the floor, and he would grab his ears. He's like, what the freak is wrong with me? And he look at his teacher, and he could see his teacher inside out. He could see her almost like you see an x-ray. His vision was going straight through the room. He could see straight through the building, and he was freaking out. And he jumped up and he ran in the closet and closed the door and locked the door. They couldn't get him out. So they had to call his mother, the Lois Lane lady. I mean, not Lois Lane, the Clark Kent lady, whoever the crap she was. She came to him, got him out the closet, and she just went in there and just held him and said, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. Ultimately, when she got home, his father, or his earth father, the Kent, whatever the dude's name, Kent, he took him out into the shed and he showed him the shuttle that he arrived on the planet in. And then he said, dude, you're not an earthling. You're not a human. You're a Kryptonian. And he like, what? He said, you came from this place. You weren't birthed by your mother and I. So they had kept that secret from that boy all the time. And he didn't understand, how could he run so fast? How could he jump so high? None of that crap made sense to him. He couldn't process it. But the moment he learned and the secret about him was broken, then he became the Man of Steel. He then became someone that could save people from a falling airplane. Now he could fly around the planet fast enough to reverse time, because now everything about him now made sense. Remember, he gave him the little crystal thing and he told him to plug it up into that little built that crystal house that he lived in. And he put the stuff in there, and then he saw the dude that was his real father. And the dude said, hello, Kal-El. I'm your father, or whatever the crap. And the dude had the same little swoopy hair as him. He was like, oh, shoot, that's why my hair be doing that. He been trying to make his hair look like the Kent man. The secret, you can't do this crap to these people. Shatter these freaking family secrets. Stop this crap. And it's you can avoid a whole gang of it by simply entering into relationships that have covenant wrapped around them. I was telling Katie Bowe yesterday, we had a great conversation. The husband, or the husband, Husband, house band, the one that bands the house together, creates a particular temperament in that house. He creates a certain identification with the child, because, see, the real identification is really found in the father. Our culture doesn't necessarily like to accept that, but this is just the way it's designed. I can't imagine who JoJo Hill would be without the presence of Joe W. Hill. I can't imagine it. I lost my mom in 2015 and daddy in 2018. And I was very close to both of my parents, but I would speak to my mom particularly. Me and mama would talk almost every single day. My mom was a very extremely wise woman. And daddy was even equally, if not, I mean, just extremely wise, brilliant guy. But mama talked a whole lot more than daddy. Well, I don't know. I can't necessarily say that anymore. I used to think that. That's not necessarily so, because me and daddy talked equally as much. But I remember thinking prior to my parents leaving, I thought when mama left, it would have a certain type of effect on me. I just thought, man, I have to just prepare myself. When mama leaves, I'll probably go through this kind of such and such. But mama left before daddy. Okay. So when daddy died in 2018, it affected me different than when mama died. And I was like, whoa. I think what happened in that case is that it pinpointed for me, or it made me focus or think from a perspective of my own mortality, because the person that was in that casket had my reflection in there. When I looked at my mom in the casket, I saw mama, but I didn't necessarily see my reflection as a man. I saw my reflection of myself when I saw my father. So even today, I find myself thinking and craving my father a lot more even than my mom, even though I was extremely close with my mom. Anybody knows I'm the youngest of 13, the baby of the family, and I was extremely close to my parents. And most said that I shared what they call the favorite child syndrome. Or everybody knows that Uncle Robert is Granny and Papa's favorite. I always heard that crap. I didn't necessarily think that, but I knew I had a very specific relationship with my parents. But particularly my father, and I could pinpoint so many different things because today, watch this, even though I haven't been in my father's physical presence to instruct me in things for many years, couple decades or so, I still find myself sharing the identification of my father in my movement. So I'll be doing something and I'll say, God dog it, I'm doing this just like daddy. I'm moving my body. I feel just like that. I can feel it. I can sense that I'm moving like my father. Are y'all catching the understanding? I'm moving with the same energy of my reflection. Now imagine if that reflection had been kept a secret from me. I would be doing things and have no idea why the freak I'm doing them. I wouldn't understand it. I wouldn't understand what the crap I'm doing. Like, why am I doing this? Or I would dismiss it. Or something that I should be embracing when I encountered it, I would dismiss it. Or something that I should dismiss, I would embrace, because I would be functioning from a counterfeit perspective. That's why I teach so emphatically concerning the relationship between the father and the child. The mother and child has their own thing, but the father and child is a very specific. It's not the same. It's not the same. And the family secrets quite often adversely affect the relationship with the father. Very rarely does it adversely affect that with the mother. I'm not saying that it's impossible, but it's more likely to affect negatively that of the father. Knock this crap off. We got to stop this crap. This has gone on too far. We've gone on too many generations where people are going through these secrets and crap, and nobody knows what the ham and cheese is going on. You don't know you don't even know who the crap you are. So how can I properly connect with you if you don't know who you are? I can't, because you don't know who you are. Until I know who in the ham and cheese you are, I can't properly connect with you. And you shouldn't be thinking about trying to connect with somebody because you don't know who the crap you are. We have to remember, and we have to think there has to be a connection. There's no such thing as a curse that is without a cause. Does not exist. Curse has to have a cause. Something has to be connected to it to make it do that. And if you understand it from that perspective, then you can move differently. These secrets haven't benefited us. A lot of these secrets have not benefited us. So we have to make an adjustment. Make the adjustment. What are y'all afraid of? What do you think is going to happen? What, you think someone's going to run away? You think they're not going to talk to me anymore? No, they're probably not going to talk to you anymore when they find out that you lied to them. You told them that Jeffrey was their father and Mike was their father. Doesn't work. So we have to begin to make these adjustments for the betterment of the people, for the betterment of these children. Tell these babies, some of these babies are 40 years old. You got to tell them, stop lying to them. It's going to be some auntie or some cousin, somebody, listen, somebody going to tell. And if you don't tell them, listen to me, y'all. I'm telling you what I know. If you don't freaking tell them and they find out, they going to spaz the crap out. They ain't going to never talk to you behind no more. Like, man, this mug didn't tell me the truth. You knew the whole time that this wasn't my father. You knew the whole freaking time. This has to be addressed. Has to be a consequence. You lie about this boy's father, this girl's father, and you put it on somebody who it ain't, and they find out, you should go to jail. First order of business. Don't stop at go. Absolutely not. Every piece of child support that they pay for this mug, you should have to pay it back. But our system is whack. It's not set up like that. They don't do that. I don't know why. I wish they would. These mugs supposed to be jacked the crap up for doing this deceptional crap. But it's the culture in which we live. I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts. That's my time. I'm not going to stay on it any longer tonight, but I want to talk about these freaking family secrets. I can't stand them junks. I hate them. You should listen to me, y'all. We should start a whole freaking movement. And the movement, you know what the movement should be? We getting rid of family secrets. Family secrets is whack. Get rid of them junks. You know why? This is what, okay. If you get rid of the family secret dynamic, if you get rid of the family secret dynamic, let me show you what's going to happen. You'll remove the cover from people who think that they can just float under there, knowing that the family secret crap is just going to jump in there and cover them up. Like if somebody know, you going to tell it or you going to let that crap be known, they probably stop doing that crap. But if you keep it under wraps, they will continue to do it. Can't have these doggone kids. I know a guy who's very famous guy, very popular guy. I was talking to him one day. I said, yo, man, have I met your dad? I mentioned this before, but it was just fascinating to me. This guy has gone all over the world, and I ain't saying that as a figure of speech. I mean, literally all over the world doing what he does. And this mug couldn't tell his father if his father was standing there looking him right in the face. He didn't even know his father. I said, dude, your mother and all of these church people and all of these old man of God, woman of God, all these freaking so-called church people, and nobody told you? That is a freaking mistake. He said, man, I don't know. I've never met my father. I said, dude, come on, bro. He said, I don't know who he is. My mother never told me. I asked them. They never told me. They just never told me. I said, I can't imagine going my whole life journey without knowing my father. Everything I am, you got to be kidding. Everything I am belongs to my father. My father, my freaking dad? Are you crazy? Joe W. Hill, man? And I gleaned a lot from my mom, and I got that, but I ain't talking about that right now. I'm talking about my father. I'm talking about daddy. I find myself doing so much stuff, and it reminds me of my daddy. It's incredible, and I can't even imagine my journey without him. So maybe this show, maybe this family secret crap was a ode to my father. Maybe that's what it was. Maybe that's the dynamic and the perspective of this particular show. To say, thank you, Daddy, for giving me a freaking reflection that I'd be proud of. So every time I think about the connection with my father, it's like, yeah, man. Daddy would be proud. I can say it so often, man, Daddy would be proud. If Daddy was alive, if Daddy was alive and I said, yo, Daddy, this is what I did. I'm doing this. I've done this thing, or I'm doing this. My daddy would be proud. And then there's some things I'll be like, Dad, I don't know what the crap, man. Just knowing that I could have that conversation to get a piece of that information, that identification, or even since he's been gone, I find myself thinking, okay, how would Daddy handle this? What would his approach be? What would he think? How would he deal with that? How would he speak about that? And the point of that, ladies and gentlemen, is to say, I'm drawing on something that I had the opportunity and privilege to watch. I had the privilege to stare at that. And I'm thankful that they didn't keep it a secret from me. I was the 13th. Daddy called me the last button on Jacob's coat, is what he said. No more freaking family secrets. Get rid of that crap. Throw these women in jail that tricks these dudes, make them think kids is theirs. It's not theirs. They need to go to jail. Fathers, if you swinging, if you lurking, and you're taking care of your kids, you're supposed to deal with whatever consequences in association with that. But if you are solid, you're doing what you're supposed to do, I say kudos. This is your friend and brother Robert W. Jojo Hill, the servant, the artist, and the author. I want you guys to be encouraged, be empowered, and most of all, guys, be enlightened. Now, take your hind parts over to rwjojohill.com before I get off this show, and make sure you guys support the channel there. If you guys would like something specific, let me know, and I'll be more than happy to take a look at it. I'm out.